All right, welcome to Teaching Crypto. AZcrypto here at MrFOMO. We've got some big days coming up and some crucial moments in the market. Please hit that like, that subscribe, bell notification, super chat. So, Mr. FOMO, before we talk about a possible Santa rally, which is very possible, and I'll explain why, I did want to talk about here something that is happening tomorrow that's pretty extraordinary. So Coinbase, for the first time in the US, is offering tokenized assets, traditional assets. Now, we don't have a list in front of us, and we're really waiting on tomorrow's press conference to find out. But can you imagine a tokenized NVIDIA? Can you imagine a tokenized Disney? And what are the legal ramifications of those tokenization? We've talked before about Avalanche partnering with the state of New Jersey to tokenize assets for that state. That hasn't come to fruition yet, but tomorrow is a significant day. They're also launching a futures market, which kind of is gambling, right? That's already available on on a bunch of apps. But the plan is not just for sports, not necessarily games, but outcomes. But you could also supposedly bet on who the next president will be. All kinds of stuff that you that the the poly market. They're not using poly market, but you see those posted all the time on social media. What could happen, and you can, But I'm very curious to see. What's going to happen here tomorrow and how soon trading will be available. And that's going to have an effect on altcoins. We talked about altcoins suffering a gigantic blow over the past 12 months, not rallying and pretty much being in a bear market that was unexpected and unusual for the 4-year cycle. Now you have this, another liquidity grab. What are your thoughts?
I think tokenizing real world assets is a great idea. The I think it's going to. I think you're right. I think it's going to bleed money away from the altcoins, and these might become the new altcoins. And that's what crypto needs, right? Crypto.
Mhm.
I've been calling for a great crypto reset because we've got like 27 million coins out there that are worthless, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing out there that's really shaking the trees and making everybody stand up and say, wow, this is a great company, outside of Bitcoin. So, really, when you talk about tokenizing stocks and tokenizing real world assets, you're really moving the market towards real investing, right? We're really looking at real companies now. We're really looking at companies that are moving forward and making news and making strides in their own industries. A lot of that isn't happening in crypto, no matter what these companies say they're doing.
Wait, are you saying Cardano has not? Wait, wait, wait.
99.9% of these are scams.
Let me pause you. Are you saying Cardano has not taken over the world like Charles claimed 2 years ago it would on this date?
Is Charles still doing his daily AMAs?
I saw a funny post, and I sent it to you, and I don't know if you read it because you didn't comment, but, it's tough to get mad at kids for, believing in Santa when people are still holding Cardano.
Yeah, it's. I just this will reset crypto. I think this gives people an
Maybe.
opportunity to treat these companies like altcoins rather than the actual altcoins that are out there. And I think my hope is that a lot of money gets out of these crap altcoins and into some of these tokenized assets so that we can see a rise in that. Now, the futures market is straight up gambling, not just
Mhm.
futures, but when you talk about betting on who the next president's going to be, who, the outcomes of whatever, you're really talking about gambling there. And that doesn't, I'm not sure that that helps the market in any way, especially the futures market.
Well, it
Um,
helps an exchange like Coinbase make more money is what it does because most people are
yes.
gonna lose.
Is there's going to be a lot of people who don't know what they're doing that are going to jump on there and they're going to short or long and they're going to take huge positions and they're going to get wrecked. And that's
Mhm.
going to hurt the market. That's what always hurts the market. So you see these huge wipeouts of longs and shorts. And these are things that people can look up. Like I I, I still don't know that companies like Coinbase and whoever else is out there are going to. I still don't know that I trust them to do the right thing with the information and the advantages that they have, because this is setting them up to be able to bet against their customers the way that SBF did with FTX.
I think Coinbase has a lot to lose by doing that, based
I
on the
think
fact
so
that they're a
too,
US
but
company. I don't see that happening, but
still
I
you
agree
can
with
look
you
up
about
longs and
people.
shorts and you can find out, what is predominant. If there's a bunch of longs on the market, you as a whale, or you as a huge company, if you own a lot of Bitcoin, you can say, I'm taking out a short position. You can dump a lot of your Bitcoin and then kill a lot of people's longs. And so I just don't, I'm not a fan of the futures market. I know a lot of people want futures. They want to be able to gamble on the future of Bitcoin and other altcoins. And I just think it hurts the market.
Well, I do. However, I will say this, shorting some of these altcoins might be a huge, huge, happening. Question, what will hit first? Bitcoin hitting 200K or Voyager paying out our last pay? I'll say
Bitcoin to
Voyager.
200K.
I'll say Voyager. I think Voyager. I think we're a few years away from 200K. Unfortunately, you know me. And I'm gonna talk about this now. I actually do believe there will be a Santa rally. Now, is it on Christmas Day? Kind of interesting. What happened on Thanksgiving is we kind of topped off and then cooled back down. We people forget we were not that long ago hit 93, 94 again, back to 87 here. But I do anticipate some type of Santa rally, but I do anticipate January not being great at the beginning of January. But I do believe there will be a mini run here. If you go back and look at the calendar 4 years ago, February was actually pretty good leading into March, and then things fell apart. Part of it was the Tierra Luna situation, who is now in prison since we've last spoken. He's gotten 15 years.
Do Kwon, enjoy that
Yeah.
prison stint.
That stung because we were huge Luna. We had some Luna bags back in the day, but boy, do I wish that we cashed those in. But you can't look
I
back in.
made some money off of Luna. I played Luna back and forth, so I made a decent amount of money off of Luna until it crashed, and then I lost some money on.
Yeah. Um, my feeling is this, and you want, by the way, we'll have a reaction to tomorrow's press conference later this week. You want to stay tuned because really these are going to be new opportunities. And the, what I'm curious is, when does trading go live, and what are the entry points, and how volatile are these new world assets? There could be some crazy volatility in the first 24 to 48 hours, depending on how early people have access. Does everyone have access right away? Does the app crash like it does when there's major volatility? Those are my
That's a
questions.
great question, because
Because
when we've had major volatility in the past, Coinbase has not been exempt from crashing. It's
but
been
could
doing a
this
better job this bull run, or this quote unquote bull run. Um, but we haven't had major volatility in the altcoins, really, not to the upside anyhow. And
could
so
this
that's a great question.
could this situation actually spur a Santa rally briefly for the next week or two? Um, Fed just injected 16.8 billion into the economy, just a drop in the bucket for the Fed here. That's like you going and getting coffee this morning, Mr. FOMO. But again, these are short-term fixes. This doesn't fix the idea that we could be headed into a bear market here. We neither of us. First, let's get it out of the way. We're not going to hit 126 in December 2025. That's not happening. And I think we both agree we're not expecting it to hit 126K in January either, quite frankly. Now, we could be wrong. We could be wrong. There are plenty of people out there that think we're still headed for one more wave, a last wave where we make another top, or there are some people that think the cycles are broken and that'll be proven in 2026. I kind of agree with you. I have a lot of questions about where world economy. We've seen some bad rumors about Japan. Um, and we just don't know the US economy. So much information is being withheld right now. But we know that layoffs are coming for probably a decent amount of people in 2026. I don't think hirings are going to boom based on data we have right now. So I don't anticipate all of a sudden. I do think there'll be a rally. I do not think we're going straight down. So if your target is 60K or 55 or 50, amazing to say 45, which sounds unrealistic, but you never know from here. Could we get 45? A year from now, it's possible. I don't anticipate it, as Michael Saylor keeps buying Bitcoin like it's going out of style. And I think that's something that will help keep the price up, by the way. We got the 16K. Michael Saylor was buying Bitcoin 4 years ago, but not to this level. So I think that will help. If you remember, it was Luna that was accumulating a ton of Bitcoin. And when they had to sell, that hurt a lot. Um,
Hmm.
so I think Michael Saylor alone and MicroStrategy will probably keep us. We went all the way down to 16. I can't see a 30 to 35K BTC. So if you're hoping for that, I don't think that's realistic. But a 50 to 60K, I think could happen if the cycles continue. There are shows out there right now. They're saying cycles are broken, and they'll show you data. I don't know about that. You still think basically after a rally, sometime in early 2026, that kind of the floor will kind of give way, and you'll see some bearish outcome. Correct?
Yeah, that's my thought. Remember, at this point in the last bear market, we were calling it the friendly bear
Mhm.
because it had only dropped, what, 25%.
Well,
And
we were
I'm
calling it the friendly bear all the way until March,
right.
because you have to remember when the Russia Ukraine news hit, there was a rally. There was a rally, um, because the there were a lot of people involved in the conflict that were using Bitcoin, right? And I didn't want to share that. Hold on one second. I just wanted to share one more thing briefly, but um, I do think what's happening tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be a nothing burger. We're going to find out some details. We're going to get some dates. We're going to get a list of assets, and that'll be just the beginning. And tomorrow could We've never had tokenized real assets like this. We've had pretend tokenized real assets.
Hmm.
But if these are real companies and they've got the legal framework to do this, I'm wondering legally how these companies and corporations are going to protect themselves, right? What's going to happen? What are the market caps going to be for these assets? There's a lot of questions I have that I'm very interested in tomorrow. um, but I think there could be some huge opportunity, and I think if you put a lot of money in this late in the year, you could see Bitcoin rally significantly to the 96, 98K. Am I confident in it? No, but that's Santa rally, definitely possible. Now, can
Well,
that be
what about
maintained
what
into
about the
January? I
real
don't know.
world? What about the real world asset announcement will cause Bitcoin to rally? Because I get that these coins might rally, especially over the short term. If we're talking about a day to day thing, if you see these coins all of a sudden jump on Coinbase and you've got Nvidia and Netflix and whatever else, I'm sure that you'll see a rise in them straight away. But then I'm sure you'll also see a sell off. But one,
Well,
I
more
think it'll be
liquidity.
like the ape coin effect that we saw.
Yeah, more liquidity. Um, yeah, ApeCoin is a decent example. Um, Now, within weeks after ApeCoin, the market completely got destroyed with, but go
But
back
then,
4 years.
but back to my original question: how
Yeah.
do the real world assets affect the price
I
of
think more
Bitcoin?
money
Because
coming
it's not.
in. I think optimism into investing again. I think that works for the short term. Look, for Bitcoin to move, it only takes a few big whales to buy back in for the time being. If a lot of whales think there's going to be one Asana rally and then another rally in February leading into March, like there was 4 years ago, they will buy back in temporarily. Now they will sell. It's been interesting because there's been a 10 a.m. dump consistently over the past couple weeks as Bitcoin rallies. Someone has been dumping, and it has to be coordinated. I don't know. We didn't get the chance to talk about that off the air, but there's been quite a few days over the past 3 weeks where anytime Bitcoin rallied, there was a 10 a.m. dump, and the last one. we went from 90 to 87 at 10 a.m. So that tells you there's still manipulation. It takes more than one whale to pull that off. We know
Yes. Yeah,
that.
and when you're talking about moving the Bitcoin market, you're talking about
3K.
billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So it's got to take coordination to move the needle that much.
Miners, big whales, hopefully not. But listen, there are still rumors that Binance was behind that October 10th drop. And we don't know this for a fact, but did that October 10th dump change the bull market? I don't think enough shows have covered this as far as I know, but were we destined to go 140 or higher? Because that was very unexpected and very unusual to happen right there. You know what I mean? Like it was early in October. Normally, you got more time in October before you see a Bitcoin high. I have a lot of questions. What really happened October 10th? And we're kind of still feeling the effects today. We don't have all the answers. We do. We've seen a lot of speculation about Binance being involved, and unfortunately, it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know if 126 was destined to be the top, and that's why we were saying for weeks, we reluctantly held on in October and November. Unfortunately, probably too long for some of our positions because we were still expecting one more, and it hit you cold late November that 126 may have been the top for this year. It definitely was, but it might be the top for 2026, maybe until late 2027. Do you think 126 was an unusual top for us because we were over 100K for over a year leading into
I
it?
don't know. The double top doesn't necessarily negate or doesn't necessarily make things unusual. Um,
But
I
being
just
around 100K for 12 months and only getting to 126 was unusual. That
That's the
this
problem
year.
when we talked about it takes a lot of money to move Bitcoin when we're talking about moving it 500,000 or excuse me,
But
talking
we
about moving
moved. Well,
50,000 in price action, you're talking about $1 trillion.
but we moved from 126 to 80 pretty quickly in less than
Mhm.
2 months. 6 weeks, you went from 126 to 80K. There was a huge bounce at 80, which is interesting to me. The 80K did not last long. Someone had a huge buy. Do you think that was a coincidence?
It it could have been. It could have been people's idea of the bottom. It could have been a lot of, I mean, there are a lot of
It was the local
psychological
bottom.
barriers.
It was the
There are a
local
lot of
bottom.
psychological barriers there. 80,000 is a psychological barrier. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
People may have said, this is where I think the bottom will be, and set their shorts at that point, or set their buys at that point. But this is why I don't think it's great that Coinbase is giving more people access to the futures market, because it just gives people, unfortunately, like companies like Binance with questionable ethical and moral
Right.
standards, the opportunity to take them down, because it's not like your longs and your shorts are secret. Your longs and your shorts are out there,
Mhm.
and people can count them up, and on the CME and this
So
and this and that exchange, and they can know how many are out there. And I'm sure Coinbase isn't going to keep that secret. So what stops Binance from taking out a huge short position when there's lots of longs, and
well,
then dumping the
who
market?
and who's gonna hold them accountable? And and as we talk right now,
Even
by
better
the way,
question.
Bitcoin all the way down to low to 86K range, 86,300 here. We were just pushing 87 when we started the show. So maybe some people just got liquidated as we're talking. Um, I did want to give people some hope here, even if there is a traditional bear market. We've seen some of these prices go down significantly. I mean, the opportunity, let's not forget Solana was under 20. Let's not forget Solana was under 20. Yeah, there is some Japan, very good, by one of our viewers here, because the last time this happened, Bitcoin dropped 25 to 30%. The Japanese
Excuse
economy
me.
the Japanese economy is a lot more important than people realize in the U.S. The U.S. is obviously most important economy, but Japanese economy extremely significant and important. And if that goes down, um, that only hurts, right? Because a lot of tech gets dumped. And Bitcoin still linked to tech assets, and we got to remember we're kind of still early. There are a lot of people that still view Bitcoin as a very um, just a very risky asset. We're still we're a ways away from where we were 4 years ago, right? A lot more people believe in Bitcoin, but there's still some doubt, right? And so I that's why I believe we will have a mini bear. I don't think it'll be very long. We're not going to go if we went to 16K last time. I would say 50K if it gets that low would be a great pickup, in my opinion. And
And even then, you may be talking about a situation because 16K was like a spike down and then a spike back
mhm.
up. You really, I mean, you had
But it
to,
was at 20 for a while, though. It was at 20. You
right.
you had a lot of chance to buy at 20, and then you had a lot of chance to buy at 30. And I still remember being in your room at work and talking about a 26K Bitcoin, and I was like, "Well, this is a nice opportunity here." And despite our disappointment, you still went from 26 to 126 in less than 2 years. Not bad, you know? So, at 50.
That's why invest gains is comment is so important here. Bear markets are where money is
Yes,
made if people are willing to DCA. That's the absolute truth.
and people that were
And that's
watching
why
this
I'm
in the
hoping
bear.
that there still is a huge
So
bear market.
we talked about Solana. You talked about not a lot of companies. Well, we've just put the Visa thing, the USDC settlement, that's on Solana. So if Solana goes down significantly, that would be one that I would really focus on. Also, what type of announcements, these real world assets, what are they being built on? I would focus on that tomorrow. Those coins might see a bit of a bump, but if they go
That's
back
another
down
good
in
point.
there, if Solana gets back to 20, it's hard not to be a buyer. Really, it is. I mean, you easily could get a 10x if you're willing to wait a couple years, 1.5 to 2 years, right? Um, and I want to just, I'm setting the stage. There is a Litecoin halving coming up. Not this summer coming up, but the following summer. Well, not now's not the time to buy, but Litecoin normally rallies up into the halving. It has every time. You can look it up. Um, so so there are opportunities in the bear. You just have to be careful. And the reality is you got to be very patient, right? Because it's not going from 20 to 200. I'm talking about Soul. And the Soul train's not going to make that run that quickly. You're talking about years and months. So you're going to have to be patient. Could we see a 1,000K, 1K ETH even, or a 15K ETH? Those would be great opportunities because I don't think ETH's going away. There's certain what you talk about the market being dead, but there's certain projects that are not going to die.
Yeah,
The
there are certain projects that
Solana.
aren't going to die, and there are certain projects that I hope don't die. I'm not saying that all of them
Well, and
out
then
there
something like
are garbage.
Cardano, it's too big right now to die this quickly. It might take decades for Cardano to completely die. So if you can catch it at 10 cents and ride it back up to 50, there you go. I mean, that's the all-time high $3. That I don't think that's coming back anytime soon, but a lot of opportunity. We'll see what next year brings. I hate to say it, but the worse the US economy looks in 2026, the lower the berry prices are going to be and the more opportunity there will be. That's the reality. So Mr.
Yep,
Fomo,
when there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy, even if the blood is your own.
we're gonna watch tomorrow very carefully. I don't want to get too excited because I sometimes we get excited about these things and what we get is not what we anticipated. What I'm interested in tomorrow um is dates, right? And the products that are going to be available. Who is signed up for this? Is it big names that we're thinking, or is it much smaller? And what are the market caps going to be? What are the entries? What are the rules? Very, very interesting tomorrow.
When can you access it? Who can access it? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Keep it here. Hey, guess what? We might have to change the name of the show very soon. Um, I would keep it here locked and loaded. I think there are gonna be some opportunities here with real world assets and also stable coins here to this is just the beginning. We are in an infant here, and this might be your opportunity to make it big because eventually the market will what? Just become normal again, but it won't be right away. So keep it here for the very latest, please. Um, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
student loans are one thing that we need to talk about on the show because they are out of control.
well, we're gonna make this a more economic show moving forward because we have a lot to say about things in that matter with our life experience and what we think can happen in the future. Very interesting, and obviously,
Student loans, I'll say this: it's irresponsible of an institution to issue a loan to a student knowing that they can never pay it back. I
or
went
it's
to a
going to take 20
school,
years to pay it back.
yeah, or it's going to take that long to pay it back. Because I went to a school, I went to a private university in Florida for 2 years, and they saddled me with more debt than I could earn the next year as a teacher. And I think when you look at a kid that wants to come in and play baseball and you say, yeah, you can do that if you take out this much money, that kid's not going to worry about that. And I didn't, because I just wanted to play the game and I wanted to play at a school. And so they saddled me with a bunch of debt without really explaining to me what was going to happen down the road, and without explaining to me that the market for
Well,
my skills was very low, especially in the state.
let's end it this way. A lot of people make a living putting other people in debt. Not only do they make a living, they get rich. Just like a lot of people get rich when wars start. And it's not magic. It's not by accident. Unfortunately, a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and the mainstream media will never get to what's really going on because one, they have to pay their spot. They have to worry about their sponsors, and they're limited in what they can tell you. So that's why independent media is so important. But guys, keep it here for the very latest. We're going to get into more and more of this as time goes on.